Very good. So for you folks out there watching on YouTube, we are in Purgatorio. We are reading Canto 4. Last time we read all of Canto 4, I believe both in English and in Italian. That's how we ended the meeting. Today we are going to start by reading in English small sections of Canto 4, starting at the top. And then after whoever's reading stops, we will talk about any questions or points of information, etc., and then go to the next section. So, and we will begin today. Didi is going to read to us from John Ciardi's summary of Purgatorio Canto 4. Take it away, Didi.
Okay. Anti-Purgatory, the first ledge. And on the first ledge are the late repentance, class 2, the indolent, and a character named Belacqua. More on him when we get to him because I don't know what he's about. And we're leaving Manfred, who is very, what you say, meaningful figure in the whole story, but we did that last week. Listening to Manfred's discourse, Dante has lost track of time. Now at mid-morning, the poets reach the opening in the cliff face and begin the laborious climb. Dante soon tires and cries that he can go no farther, but Virgil urges him to pull himself a little higher yet, significantly to the ledge of the indolent, those souls whose sin was their delay in pulling themselves up the same hard path. Seated on the ledge, Virgil explains that in the nature of the mountain, the beginning of the ascent, the first turning from sin to true repentance is always hardest. The higher one climbs from sin to repentance, the easier it begins to climb still higher until, in the perfection of grace, the climb becomes effortless. But to the ultimate height, as Virgil knows, human reason cannot reach. It is Beatrice, divine love, who must guide him there. As Virgil finishes speaking, an ironic reply comes from behind a boulder. The speaker is Belacqua, an old friend of Dante's and the laziest man in Florence. Because of his indolence, he put off good works and the active desire for grace until he lay dying. In life, he made God wait. Now God makes him wait an equal period before he may pass through the gate into purgatory and begin his purification. Unless, as Belacqua adds, the prayers of the devout intercede for him. But now Virgil points out that the sun is already at its noon height and that Dante, unlike the indolent, must not delay. The end.
Okay.
Okay, so I did my reading. We can move to the
Did your
next.
reading. You did
Sorry,
your...
could I just say, since we are allowed to comment after each reader is finished, could I just say that it struck me what it undoubtedly struck critics in like 800 years ago or whatever. So if you're doing hell, it's easier. It's easier to get through hell because you're going down. You're not fighting gravity. Whereas, and it was your reading, Didi, that clued me onto this. And as I said, I'm sure everybody else learned it like 800 years ago. Purgatory, you're climbing up. So the righteous path is actually harder. Now it gets easier, as you pointed out, but you're fighting gravity. You're climbing as opposed to descending. And for most people, descending is easier.
Sure, gravity is helping you.
Right. And as a cyclist, I can attest to that. I'm loving the gravity assist when I'm going downhill with the few hills we have where I live. But if I'm climbing a hill, it's bloody hard work.
Well, I
And
would.
yeah, anyway, I just thought I would state what probably for the rest of you is very obvious. But it just,
Yeah, and easy downhill, I discovered in my ongoing posture struggle, actually is you make mistakes because you think it's easy. And I had just recently changed a habit because I realized that.
okay,
Yeah,
that's
you can
interesting.
easily stumble going downhill. You can actually stumble more easily going downhill.
But
Okay.
Hiking.
it's a matter of alignment and an assumption about alignment.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And I mean, I want to tease this out too much, but as somebody who's done these pilgrimages in Spain, which is hillier than where I live, I actually find, and I'm an exception here perhaps, I'm passing most people going uphill because all you need to do is to go uphill is you need to power it up. So you got power in the legs, power in the arms, and I got my walking sticks, and I'm passing people. But going downhill, they all pass me. Because
Yeah, me
that's got,
too. This
oh
is,
yeah,
yeah.
because it's got to do with the knees. It's got to do more with balance.
Hmm.
And so I don't know if there's a Dantean lesson in that or not. But yeah, yeah,
Probably.
yeah.
Well, this particular canto is actually kind of interesting in the sense that implicit within canto 4, it's not brought out so much, but implicit within it is the fact that Dante is kind of a slacker himself.
Right.
Well, he's like
That's why
criticizing. Yeah,
he was a friend of Balakwa.
yeah. He's Dante, the author, is criticizing Dante, the pilgrim, Dante,
Pilgrim.
the exile.
Hmm.
That's a good point, actually. So you're saying that Dante, the author, is kind of hard on Dante, the character.
Yeah,
Right.
self-critical. He's looking at
Right.
his own faults.
That's funny. And I apologize to the other three, but Duncan and I are in the Ulysses group. I've often thought that Joyce was harder on Stephen, extremely hard on his younger self, as portrayed by Stephen Dedalus. Stephen isn't portrayed in many instances
Right.
very
I think,
favorably.
yeah.
Yeah, if you
You
were a
know,
Finnegan's Wake reader, you would also realize that
go ahead.
Jim, who is the representative of Joyce, one might say,
Right,
uh, gets severely criticized,
right.
uproariously criticized.
Who, Duncan?
Shem,
Oh, Shem. Oh my God, yes. Right. And that's the Joyce character.
that's the
Yeah.
Joyce character.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I miss Finnegan's. I just cannot manage it.
your schedule getting too crowded.
It's maybe too much for me. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, so you take a break, you'll be back later.
Maybe, I hope. I keep thinking so.
Okay.
I'm wishing even.
Okay. Okay. You know,
So is there I just like let's bring the other two guys in here. Sorry, because I feel
yes,
that
yes.
we're kind of ignoring you here. I'm just wondering, is that a truism of the human beast that we are maybe a lot of us are harder on ourselves than we're our own worst critics. Maybe that's what I'm saying.
Of course.
Are we? I mean, Donald Trump is not. Okay, fair enough. I'm willing to say that there are exceptions, but in terms of the general run of the human race, are we more self-critical than other people are maybe critical of us? I don't know.
Certainly true of well, a lot of people, but I can't say it's not in my experience, it's not a universal quality by any
Okay,
means you point out. I mean, there's a lot of people who just, who go through life without much critical self-examination. So,
okay.
you know,
Hmm. Hmm. Well, I'm associated with two cultures which are very critical.
Right.
One is the Japanese culture, and I have Japanese relatives, and I had a wife of 37 years, and a girlfriend for the last 9 years, and they are hard on themselves.
Right.
Oh my God. Um, the other culture, which is almost humorously self-critical, is the Jewish culture,
Oh,
where
sure, guilt.
while they will fight furiously against outside criticism, uh, personal feelings of adequacy and inadequacy is a constant theme.
Yeah, you should see the Yom Kippur service, all of these sins that you recite. So I was thinking about the Greek gods, um, and what their role was in that psychology of that culture. And I don't have an answer to that, but I have questions about that. So
Well,
that's John.
they're not, um, there is no holy book, and the gods are not uh, laying down the morality uh, the way that in the Jewish tradition or in the Christian tradition we have. Certainly, if you swear an oath by a god and then violate it, right? Like I swear by Apollo that I'm going to pay John back, and then I don't do it. Well, Apollo may get me, but it's not because I cheated John. It's because I used
His name in
his
vain.
name to cheat John. Um, it, in the simplest terms, you try to perform the rituals to appease the gods and hope that you've done them right and they will either benefit you or at least leave you alone. Um, and that's why you have votives, which are still around in some forms in even in Christian churches. Um, the sailor who's in a storm and Neptune, if you get me out of this, I'll dedicate my oar to you
Mhm.
or whatever. And there would actually be these votive decorations in temples. Wealthy people could vow impressive stuff, and humble people might vow something pretty humble. But the idea is the same. If the God helps me, and the word that you'll often see translated as prayer in from Latin, if you're reading something in English from the Latin, the word is actually vow, because the prayer comes with an I will do this if you
It's a
if God
transaction,
does
right?
that. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a
There's
transaction, right?
certain transactional element.
Yeah,
But
I'm gonna
but
I'm
we
gonna
actually
burn
still
this beef for you if you'll do this for me.
and we still see that, right? Sometimes in newspapers there will be um, statements of thanks to some saint or something,
Mm,
uh, that
absolutely
kind of thing.
interesting.
Well, I was going to ask a question here too on that along that line. Um, I guess what sprung to my thought was mine was the Platonic from Plato. We get Socrates of talking about knowing thyself and so forth. And if I recall correctly, that was actually the motto or something of the the Oracle at Delphi, wasn't it?
Yes.
That was just sort of that was a kind of a semi-religious kind of thing. And in terms of morality too, wasn't there was kind of a religious or moralistic kind of major vein in the development of like Greek theater. Those Greek, Sophocles and Aristophanes and so forth, they were there was a morality that was reflected in that those
Right.
plays, I recall, right?
wasn't there, I don't know if that reflected just a culture or if there was a religious
But
component to that, but
it's not coming from any divine utterances.
okay, yeah. But
It's coming
what about
from the society.
okay, what about the Oracle of Delphi though? I mean, was the Oracle of was the Delphi was the Oracle of Apollo, wasn't it?
Yes.
There's something what about that? And then about the idea that oracular pronouncement about know thyself,
Mhm.
which Socrates, I think, and Plato developed into a kind of a strain that I think is kind of part of our, Christian background, at least. I mean, I know that a lot of the Catholic tradition of confession, for example, is based upon the idea of examination of conscience. It's self-criticism, self-examination, and I think going back to knowing thyself. I wonder if that has some sort of inherited, some sort of a background or legacy from Greek or at least or maybe Roman culture anyway.
And Dante's awareness of this kind of thing,
What do you
the what the gods were to the Greeks, superstition, faith, I don't know at all what Dante had in his repertoire of learning.
Well, we have to get into that here. I'm not sure what you're referring to, Dee Dee, but
Well, that for example, the plays that tell the story of the gods, people's
okay,
relationship to the gods.
okay.
Would Dante have been aware of that?
Dante would not have had Greek, and I think most of his references to things Greek come through Latin authors, Ovid for the mythology,
Sure.
Cicero for the philosophy. But he would not. Greek didn't get to Italy.
Mm.
I think it was
Yeah,
another couple
but
hundred
he would have
years.
known the mythology that way via Latin
Yeah, through
writers.
Ovid and some other authors.
Well, I don't know, another thing to kind of look at as we go along.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, John, and I'll delay us only slightly. Cleveland, John. The Greek finally came to us in the West through the Muslims. Is that correct?
Um, the there was Averroes, I think,
Okay.
did the commentary on Aristotle,
Right.
and that's why he's among the noble pagans
Mhm.
down there with Plato. But I'm trying to remember. I'm going to try to do a Google here when Greek got to Renaissance Italy.
Okay. But now Averroes was in Spain, correct? In southern Spain.
I don't know.
Okay. And I don't either. That may have been
Northern
a shot.
Africa,
Averroes.
maybe.
Let me just check. Right.
Where?
He was in Spain.
Andalusian polymath,
Okay.
Muslim ruled area of the Iberian Peninsula. So it was through Averroes was in Spain.
Mhm.
Right. Okay. Good. Okay.
So he was a Muslim?
Yes. He was an Andalusian Muslim polymath. You know what? I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the chat. And then everybody can read it at their leisure. Okay.
Yeah, Leonardo Bruni uh, early 1400s translated Greek works into Latin.
Hmm.
Mm. Well, that was after Dante.
Yeah.
That was after Dante. Mhm.
But he did have Ovid and who else? And Averroes, maybe.
Mhm. Mhm.
What was the date of Averroes?
1126 to 1198.
Oh,
But I think that Averroes, he translated into Latin, didn't he? He translated Greek into Latin, so that that's where Thomas Aquinas did not read Greek. I think he read Latin, so he understood Aristotle from the Latin.
Very interesting to me how much Dante kept learning as he was exiled, or maybe before he was exiled.
Right.
Mhm.
well, he probably, he had, oh, when he had a place to, he had plenty of time, so to speak.
Right, and the monasteries were the ones that had libraries, that had book collections.
Monasteries and wealthy people, some wealthy people. Mhm. But in this particular canto, I think the important thing for us is to realize that Dante the Pilgrim, he wants to hang back. His tendency is to hang back somewhat. When he met Manfredi, Manfredi is that, he wanted to hang around and talk with him. And then when he meets in this canto, when he meets Balacqua, he wants to hang around and talk with him. And it's
Mhm.
really Virgil who says, "Hey, we got work to do, buddy. Enough of this socializing. Let's get it on." So, there's like I say, a kind of a humor involved, particularly in this conversation with Balacqua, the laziest man from Florence. Because and also, well, I'll ask the question: when you know you've made it to purgatory, is there a reason to hurry?
Point. Although they are kind of running on some of the other tiers, right? Because they are trying to loosen the weight and get up to another level. Is that right? Is that your remembrance that they are in some instances running, or is that Dave's faulty memory? It's been a few years since I read it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Well,
can't
you,
answer the question.
you raised a good point, Duncan, about how, um, which maybe just a question raised by all of the purgatory here. What motives do you have once you've made it to basically not hell to go on beyond that? And sort of like, well, this is good enough.
Right.
Some people will be maybe happy for that. I don't know if that's
Mhm.
It's like what do you need to want to go beyond what you've already accomplished?
Yeah, that they must realize now there's a place they want to be in the afterlife. It must,
Who's they in this case?
well, that's what they have to realize, the indolent, and maybe there's a glimmer of that in their
To be quite honest, I'm a slacker. I'm the kind of person that goes, "Hey, this is pretty good. What's the hurry?"
Good for you.
Mm.
Actually,
You
I don't
know,
know.
I would probably be right there with Balakwa. Hey, there's a bench over there. Let's sit down and chat for a while.
I'm gonna challenge you on your self-characterization there. I wouldn't say you're a slacker. I would say you're a flower smeller. You smell the flowers along the way, and there's a difference.
I'll take any compliment I can get.
Like Ferdinand.
So to answer your question, though, Duncan, I think let's leave it as an open question. How strong? What is the magnetic pull of the lure of making it to Paradiso? And I think, and maybe we don't answer it here, but let's just kind of check it out as we move along. Like, how strong is the lure to get to heaven?
Right. Well, actually, for Dante the Pilgrim, there is a time limit.
Right.
You got
Right.
it done
Right.
while Easter is happening.
Correct. And so the problem is Virgil is trying to hurry a flower smeller along the way. Because there are times there, I find
curious,
obviously,
or flower smeller, curious cat would
exactly right. You know, this is,
Curious cat, is that? Yeah.
oh,
you're out there walking with the dog, and the dog goes, "Oh my God, look at that!
I know. No, it's
500
true.
dogs are here. Oh, I gotta check that out. God, how could I miss that?" The owner's going, "Come on, would you?"
No, I mean, I lived Dante's life. When we took family holidays, my kids would get so upset. Dad, do you need to stop at every single historical marker on the route? You know?
I wonder though if maybe there is a when you think about it, the idea of just being good is not a motivating factor for a lot of people. But I think that there's maybe an element. It'd be interesting to see if Dante uses this or brings this out in some fashion. I'm thinking of the metaphor, like the flowers and leaves turning their faces toward the sun, so to speak. And so there's like an attraction of godly, of the divine, that is attracting, that pulls people toward the divine in some fashion. There's kind of this mysterious force, maybe love, that people are an underlying attracting power that is a motivating factor for people to really keep them moving towards that divine goal. Or that was that one part where we were talking about that that light shining through the dome, where we where we showed some pictures of that sort of bright light showing through the dome of the souls, going up through into the cosmology of heaven.
Are you talking about the classic medieval drawing of the pilgrim?
I think so. I mean, I think
it was kind of on Earth, and then there's like this circle that represents our immediate sky, and then the pilgrim is kind of breaks through, and there's all this starry stuff out there.
Right, something. Yeah, I think you had a picture that showed it was like I think there was one showed a picture looking skyward or domeward, and there was, and I don't know if we were reading maybe we were reading it took a small glimpse of the reading from the Paradise or something here, but it seemed there was some glimpse that Dante had of this dome and the circles of different, the choirs of angelic beings or something, and then but there was like this light kind of shining, this bright light at the center of this bright, drawing people towards that in a way. Maybe that's the kind of mystery or that force that I was thinking about.
I think you hit it pretty precisely. Desire and love.
Yes.
There ain't no reason to hurry except desire and love.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I'm going back to my husband's book, Poetic Knowing,
Mhm.
An appetite within human, something we can aim for, of this divinity that kind of solves all our negativity. It's almost like magnet, it's almost like a natural force.
Right.
I have to read his book again. I've only read it 3 times, but it's very rewarding.
Uh-huh.
Poetic knowing. Okay.
I just know that within myself, I mean, I'm not a Okay, I'm a flower sniffer, I'm a curious dog, all that kind of thing. But I've noticed that actually I'm one of these males that does more when there's a female around that wants to get something done.
I always do more when
Otherwise,
I
I
have,
am completely content
yeah,
just to lollygag around
yeah.
forever.
I always do more when I have help. Always.
I would say, Duncan, that that's an evolutionary adaptation.
Perhaps so. Perhaps
I know
so.
what you mean, Duncan.
But I'm generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, if I'm on my own, I can take forever. But if there's someone around me that's more ambitious, that I have some love relationship with, I will, I'll go, okay, sure, I can do that. Why
This
not?
is why Beatrice criticizes Dante when we get there.
Mhm.
Well, she criticizes him for wandering instead of keeping his eye on the prize.
Yeah.
From wandering from the instinct that sparked the love between them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, bluntly speaking, she died. His ardor kind of cooled because he wasn't really, evolved enough to follow simply a spiritual love.
Yeah, he was totally
And he was
conventional
writing, and he was writing, he was
that
writing lots
way.
of, he was writing lots of love poetry, and he wasn't writing that to
Right,
some, distant spirit. He had specific people in mind when he was writing his poetry.
absolutely. Yeah. But he had second thoughts when Beatrice chastises him at the end of Purgatory.
Yeah, well, uh,
I'm arguing with you.
oh, okay. Okay. No, that's not there's no argument there, really. No, it's just when Beatrice returns as a kind of a tangible presence via Virgil, because at the very beginning of the poem, Virgil comes and says, "Hey, I'm here because your former sweetheart, Beatrice, who is in heaven, asked me to come and help you."
Right.
So when Beatrice once again becomes more tangible, Dante snaps to pretty well.
Of course. He's looking at himself.
Well, he's looking at himself and he's looking at that past relationship as well. So, and now I'll be controversial. And I think that the thing that really makes a difference between Dante and Balacqua is Dante has a strong love relationship to draw him on.
To what?
He has a strong love relationship that draws him on. He has strong desire that draws him on. Whereas Belacqua, as far as I can tell, he's pretty damn glad he made it to purgatory.
Yeah.
Even if it was a last minute squeaker, he's
Yeah.
he's fine with that.
Yeah.
So it seems.
So
Anyway,
getting to bliss.
getting to bliss and different levels of bliss too. Dee Dee, you want to go ahead and read the first part of?
Well, I did that whole long thing. Why doesn't the next person read?
Okay, so it'll be Cleveland John.
Okay. Whenever by delight or else by pain that seizes any faculty of ours, wholly to that the soul collects itself, it seemeth that no other power it heeds, And this against that error is which thinks one soul above another kindles in us. And hence, whenever aught is heard or seen, which keeps the soul intently bent upon it, time passes on, and we perceive it not. Because one faculty is that which listens, and other that which the soul keeps entire. This is as if in bonds, and that is free. Of this I had experience positive in hearing and in gazing at that spirit. For 50 full degrees uprisen was the sun, and I had not perceived it when we came to where those souls with one accord cried out unto us, here is what you ask.
Do we know what this all means?
No.
Oh, good.
I was gonna say, I'm lost, but
Well, okay, so look at lines 1 through 3. Okay. Whatever by delight or else by pain that seizes any faculty of ours, wholly to that the soul collects itself.
Oh, sure. Okay.
The-
That I see now.
so the soul collects itself to whatever delight or pain seizes any of the faculty. It's the delight or pain is what the soul collects to itself. Is that
Well, let me give some crude examples. So, for example, if I take a pen, if we're sitting next to each other, John, and I have a pen in my hand, and I jab that pen in your forearm,
oh, that's nasty. Ouch.
I can pretty confidently predict that all of your consciousness will go to that sensation.
Okay. Sure.
No other questions or sensations will be of any concern except for that.
Okay.
To take a more positive thing, let's say, for example, I went to the movie In the Mood for Love, and they had this combination of music and Maggie Chun. And Maggie Chun is a phenomena. I don't know how big she is, but she looks like she's about 6 feet tall. She's got this jet black hair, and she has this very deep feminine voice. And when she's on screen, nothing else matters to me.
Okay.
So once again, that's a positive thing where
Okay.
all my
Yeah. Yeah.
consciousness collects in that regard.
So then, as the next two stanzas seem to me to address this. What
Okay.
is Beatrice? What does Beatrice mean? Question we've been talking about.
Okay.
Now, I was going to say, let's put that now into context here. What else is this saying here? No other power it heeds.
Right. It seemeth that no other power it heeds, and this against the error which thinks one soul above another kindles in us. This is a very rhetorically interesting thing because that whatever in line 1
Mm-hmm.
is postponed.
Yeah, the Chiardi's translation is different. I'm going to read a few lines if anyone doesn't object.
Okay.
And thus, let's see, one sense seems to lose all other powers. And thus do I refute the error that asserts that one soul on another burns in us. It seems to have to do with that actress you're talking about. I'm so out of touch with whatever. And for this reason, when we see or hear whatever seizes strongly on the soul, time passes and we lose it unaware. For that which sense is one faculty, and that which keeps the soul intact, another. At the first, as it were, bound, the second free.
Hmm.
Are we running a little bit ahead of ourselves at this point?
No, that's line 12. We did read that.
Yeah.
You
No,
didn't read that?
No, we did. We did.
Yes, he did.
Your spank on, DD. We did read it.
Yes.
Hands,
Every
foot,
thought is heard is seen, which keeps the soul. See, and against, and I don't, I'm really, this really befuddles my thinking because it's so, I don't know, it seems like they're almost like double or triple negatives or something. It's like the same thing. And this against that error is which thinks one soul above another kindles in us. And this, that no other power.
Right. Well, what
This,
does
and what he's
does
saying is that
that mean? What does that mean? What do lines 5 and 6 mean?
exactly, and that no other party, and this, and what is this? I guess this, and this against that error is which thinks,
And
one soul above another kindles in us.
and just a couple more lines.
Too many
When
pronouns.
time passes, we lose this burning, this passion.
That's a
We
very
lose
different
it
interpretation
unaware.
than
Yeah,
I give a very different interpretation to that, DD.
yeah. I think that is like this is like that's the tercet that talks, and hence that's kind of his therefore. It's like a syllogism or something. That second tercet is like critical, and there's too many pronouns in there for me. It seemed it and this and that and which. There's too many of those that I don't know what he's jumbled those all up, and there's what is that referring to back from the previous tercet? I'm completely.
Well, okay, so for me, line 4 very easily goes with the first 3 lines.
Yeah, that I agree.
It
Yeah,
seemeth that no other power it heeds.
Yeah.
The tricky part is,
right.
and this against the error, and this against that error is which thinks one soul above another kindles in us.
So the error is the one thinks that one soul above another kindles this in us. Is that, I think, what you're saying? Is that what is Dante is saying here?
Yeah, the
He's
problem
talking
is I
about
don't know.
that the error is in thinking that one soul, that this delight or pain, this gathering all these things to our soul is that's the real thing, and that is against an error which thinks that some other soul is causing this in us. So he's saying that really this is all, well, yeah, that there's some other soul that would cause this pain or delight in our souls.
And
Yeah,
the
if you
next
understand
That's the
stanza,
error. That's the error.
yeah, and the stanza, his correction of the error is there.
Okay. Okay. So hence then that error, whenever anything is seen or heard, which keeps the soul intently bent upon it, time passes on and we perceive it not. Time passes and we perceive it. Is it we perceive the time passing, or we perceive
No,
that?
we don't perceive the time passing because
Yeah,
our
okay.
mind is so concentrated on one thing.
But we
Okay.
lose the passion. And
When the mind is concentrated on one thing,
Yeah.
time disappears.
Yeah.
and then the next stanza is where the beginning, he's answering what it is, the mistake, logical mistake that our brains make. Senses.
Well, the mistake is, and he's stating it pretty plainly in line 5 and 6. The mistake or error is thinking one soul above another kindles in us.
Yeah, well, for that which senses is one faculty, and that which keeps the soul intact, another. That's the fourth stanza from Giardi's.
I guess,
The first, as it were, bound, the second, free.
okay, so I guess another help me correct my own thinking about this here. And this against that error is which thinks one soul above another, kindles in us. The error is one thinking of one soul above another, that anybody's better than any, one soul is better than any other soul. That's the error. Kindles in us is that is an error,
Well, yeah, I can.
which is
Yeah,
corrected by the
I
fact that,
agree that that's what he's saying. The problem is I don't know what that means.
yeah.
So I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna read part of a note from Hollander.
Okay, that might be pretty helpful. There's
Okay.
very long in this series.
This is having to do with lines 1 through 15.
Okay.
And I'm going down. So it says, following Aristotle and Aquinas, Dante believed that there was but a single soul in man, divided first into three faculties or powers: the vegetative, governing physical growth; the sensitive, governing the feelings; and the rational or intellective, governing thought. These are presented by Dante, Convivio, blah, blah, blah. The force of life of the senses of reason. Considering what happened within himself, so that absorbed by the words of Manfred for over 3 hours, this is going back to Canto 3, and then he says 50 degrees of the sun's ascent, he could lose track of time.
Okay.
So that's according to Hollander, that's what that time thing is referring to. Dante, when he was talking with Manfred, was actually absorbed in Manfred. Manfred was, in that case, whatever. Manfred is what seized Dante's
Okay.
soul
All right. Putting that in kind of the context here.
for
Okay.
3 hours.
Yeah.
He didn't realize it was 3 hours. He only
So yeah, he
later
wasn't even thinking about time.
he
It
wasn't.
wasn't concerning him.
Yeah, yeah. And he only knew that time passed because apparently before he was talking with Manfred, he had observed where the sun's position in the sky was. And then after he had finished talking to Manfred, he observed where the position of the sun in the sky was. And then he realized that 3 hours had passed.
So, is what he's saying here then, if in fact the human did have multiple souls instead of one soul, the other soul still would have been tracking the time while he was talking to Manfred, but
Oh, I
that
like it.
it's all one and different elements, but one element can, what would you say, vegetative,
Vegetative,
sensitive?
sensitive, and intellectual. So it's
So
basically
so
body.
one of those can sort of block the others,
Yeah. I think that's
but
right.
it's all one. Whereas if they were truly three separate things, they'd each continue functioning. I think maybe that's what he's saying.
That's good. That's very
Yeah,
interesting.
that's very, yeah, I think you're right, John. But then I think in that, now that 10 to 12 there, then he says, one faculty is that which listens, the other is that which the soul keeps entire. This is as if in bonds, and the other is free. Sort of like these are things happen simultaneously by these different faculties, I guess you'd call them. The soul is broken into these faculties. One is one, but there's always one soul is functioning, and one kind of controls the other at times. But at the same time, keeping one as if in bonds or in chains, and the other is keeps it free. Just at one level of this.
I hear what you're saying. I don't entirely understand.
Well, John mentions, multiple souls. And
Yeah.
just to go back to what, Hollander's statement there, that he refers back then to Aristotle and to Aquinas to say that that they think of the soul as being divided into three, I guess, faculties.
Faculties.
Instead, these are the different aspects of the soul which control the growth of the overall organisms or soul. And so and I think he's sort of talking about it's at the same time free, and at the same time free, and also can be bound in some fashion to what's just going on right in front of it or something.
Okay, so let me read a little bit more of this Hollander one, if I may. Okay, so we got to the thing where he lost track of time. Then Hollander says Dante uses the evidences of his senses to argue, as Aquinas had done before him, that the very fact that parts of the soul cease their function when one of them is fully enjoined proves that we have not a plurality of souls. For if we did have truly a plurality of souls, these would simply continue to function independently at all times.
Sure.
That is, had Dante's rational soul functioned unimpaired, he would have noted the passage of time even as he listened to Manfred.
Okay.
So as a thing that's saying, hey, this actually means, yeah, it's okay. So for convenience sake, and because of Aristotle and Aquinas, we talk about three faculties. But the reality is they are one. When push comes to shove, they are one. And they do not have any independent status. That's how I interpret that.
All right. Makes sense to me.
If we think back to our college days, we've probably all experienced classes where we lost track of time, and classes, while still diligently taking notes, we were painfully aware of the
Right.
time.
Very painfully aware.
Absolutely.
Yes. I can even tell you a little saying. In one philosophy class I had to help me with the final exam, I had taken a substance, and I went in and I took the exam, and I was delighted the whole time. And when I finished and was handing in the paper, I went up and thanked the professor for giving me such a delightful final exam.
Egads. And then did you get a good grade?
I don't even remember.
Oh, well, couldn't have been too bad then.
All right. Well, read on. Should I take up reading here? Do you want to continue, John?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
All right, let's read on here. Okay, because I think this kind of is a good segue into the next thing here. Because so he says, of this I had experience positive in hearing and in gazing at that spirit, for 50-fold degrees uprisen was the sun, and I had not perceived it. When we came to where those souls with one accord cried out unto us, here is what you ask. Well, you already read that, John. A greater opening oft times hedges up, but with a little forkful of his thorns, the villager, what time the grape embrowns, then was the passageway through which ascended only my leader and myself behind him. After that company departed from us. One climbs San Leo and descends in Nole and mounts the summit of Vismantova with feet alone. But here one needs must fly with the swift pinions and the plumes, I say, of great desire conducted after him, who gave me hope and made a light for me. All right, well, that'll be enough right there, too.
Yeah,
That's enough.
that's plenty. That's plenty.
Yeah.
Right.
So a greater opening oft times hedges up with a little forkful of his thorns with times grief.
Did you read up to 30?
Yes.
I know it. Yeah, okay, I did. Okay, good.
He did read up to 30. So I want to go right back to where. So he's still talking about his experience with Manfred,
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
up to line 15. So
Yeah.
that's when he finally realizes that, the sun had ascended a 15 full degrees while was engaged with Manfred.
So
The sun, and I had not proceeded when we came to where souls in one accord cried out unto us, here is what you ask. So
what did he ask?
I think I think this means here's the passage you're looking for.
No.
That's
Sure.
your root. Your
I
root.
think so.
I think that's what that's about. Here's the passage you're looking for.
Sure.
But with but a little forkful of his thorns, the villager, what time the graven bronze, then was the passageway through which ascended only my leader after that company.
Okay. Greater opening sometimes hedges up with, but this is a kind of greater opening oft times hedges up with but a little forkful of his thorns. The villager, what time the grape in browns. Oh,
Passageway.
Having
Yeah.
trouble
that's a toughie.
seeing what this fork full of thorns, what that's about.
What does Giardi's translation sound like? I guess I'd like to hear some other translation besides this.
Here is Hollander talking about this, lines 19 through 24. A pseudo simile, only because its formal grammatical relations, e.g., just as so, are not expressed. These verses return to the countryside in the humble style that Dante has deployed in many of his similes in Inferno, and what typifies the sole simile found in the preceding canto. That's canto 3. The farmer fixes his hedge by filling holes in it with thorns. When the grapes come ripe, so as to protect his vineyard from thieves.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I assure you, without Hollander, I would not have had a clue what that was about.
No, me neither.
Yeah, what it would mean on the cliff that they're on, I still don't know.
I'm beginning to come towards an understanding, but I'm not there yet. Okay. The farmer fixes his head. Steiner was perhaps the first commentator to note the reference to Matthew chapter 7, verse 14, because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leads to life. There are few that find it.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay. So note here. So Dante and Virgil are walking. They are looking for a path. They come to some souls that are kind of standing on the side. and they go, there's it is. That's the way to go.
Yeah.
But they're not going that way.
No, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
And why
stuck.
aren't they going that way? Because it's hard.
Yeah. The indolent.
Well, even more than indolent, it's just hard for anybody. This is that climbing of the mountain upwards that we were talking about at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, I think the this whole lot of this is about the struggle up into this path here that they were taking here. About I'm scanning ahead a little bit, but
Yeah.
yeah, one climbs San Leo and descends in Noli. So he's again drawing a comparison to probably geographical climbs and
Yeah,
descents.
these are actual places. San Leo and Noli are
Yeah.
actual places, and I assume an Italian reader of Dante's time would know exactly that San Leo is
Mhm.
really steep
Yeah. Yeah.
upwards, and Noli is really steep downwards,
Yeah.
and mounts the summit of Bismantova.
You mount.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in these cases, anybody with halfway decent physical skills can do it. But here, one needs must fly.
Right. They don't have the wings, swift wings.
Yeah. With the swift pinions and plumes, I say, of great desire conducted. So,
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
You
what Dave
gotta have
was
it.
talking about.
You really have to have a strong desire to want to climb this one.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The swift pinions and the plumes, I say, of great desire. Conducted after him who gave me hope and made a light for me. I guess that's Virgil or Jesus.
Yeah. Well, certainly he's created a great image here just with these hard words. It's like climbing over hard rocks and a very
Mhm.
steep slope of understanding, I'm afraid. So
It maybe
So,
begins to answer your question earlier, Duncan, that we said we'd leave as an open question and kind of come back to as we move through the purgatorial. And that is, if you want to get up there, you have to have a strong desire.
yeah.
People are going up clearly when it's their time. So there must be that pull of heaven moving people along so that they aren't dilly-dallying, I assume. That
Yeah.
when it's their turn,
Mhm.
there's a strong desire that moves them up.
I agree with you.
But I think again, let's leave the question open and see if that gets reinforced elsewhere.
Okay, and let me read Hollander again. I think and this has to do with the 25 lines 25 through 30. Okay, that starts one climbs San Leo and descends in Noli.
Yeah.
Hollander says, here is another pseudo simile, even less grammatically ordered than the last, in which steep paths to towns or to mountain peaks in north and central Italy are compared to this path, which is even steeper. Dante's desire to rise is the necessary spur to such strenuous effort, but is Virgil's guidance that lights his way and lends him hope. So that takes us up to line 30.
Okay. Well, Dave, maybe you're the next reader. So
Right. Okay. And I'm on line 30. Is that correct then? So 31. Okay.
31. Mhm.
I was actually just Googling Wings of Desire, and there's a 1987 German film by that name.
Yeah, Wim Wenders.
there you go. Yeah, I've seen that several times. Great film.
Yeah. Okay, there it is. I was just wondering, I think I heard like popular songs having that notion too. So it seems to be, kind of something that we think in those terms. Anyway, so when we went and up through the stony crack, wedged either side between the rock walls sheer, needing both hands and feet to grip the track. And when we had scaled the cranny and got out clear at the high cliff's top on the slope of the open hill, Master, said I, where do we go from here? And he, let not one foot fall back, but still follow on up the mountain till we light upon some good escort to assist our skill. So high the summit, it outsoared the sight. So steep the slope, the line from center straight up to mid-quadrant is far less upright. I'm going to keep reading. I know it's a bit long, but it seems to tie together, so I'm going to keep reading, okay?
Yeah,
Soon I grew tired. Don't go at such a rate, I cried. Dear father, see, I shall get stuck all by myself here if thou wilt not wait. My son, said he, drag thyself onward. Look as far as there. And he, pointing up, showed running all around that side a ledge of rock not far above. His words were such a goad. I strained to follow, and with desperate pressure crawled up, and on the terrace stood.
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
So an arduous climb, right?
arduous climb.
Yeah, yeah. I'll be back in 1 minute. I'll be able to hear what's going on. You just won't say anything.
I'm ready to move on, but
Yeah,
I may be
yeah.
the only one.
That sort of ties, that kind of ties this, what we've talked about all together, that last reading there. So
Mhm.
he's managed, he's describing a hard descent at the beginning, and it's not clear what this is all about until we actually get through that part where he gets through it, and then can look. He's up to gets to this terrace and can look back.
Right. And now we get to what happens once they get there.
Okay,
Right,
so
yeah.
maybe I stopped too soon, and since Duncan isn't here to read, let me read the next two cantos
Yeah, go
because
ahead.
it's so psychologically true what happens. Here we sat down, both facing east, to measure our climb from where it started. For it's grand thus to look back and gives all travelers pleasure. I turned my eyes first downward to the strand, then to the sun, and stared to see him go, so that he smote us on the leftward hand. I would say that first canto I read is psychologically very true, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
If we've done something, if we've done that climb, we like to look back.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
See how far we've come, and that climb doesn't necessarily have to be physical; it could be metaphorical.
Sure. Yeah,
No,
that makes sense. Yep.
like John, Minnesota John. I know
Yes.
that you had said you're a lawyer, and surely as you got your law degree, when you were finished law school, you must have metaphorically looked back over where you started and what you now knew. You know,
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You look back and you see what you've accomplished. I mean, it's
right?
just,
Yeah,
as if you're looking over the plane
correct,
of
correct.
of a valley from a summit that you've
Right.
climbed.
Yeah, back at the very beginning, Canto 1, line 22, even as he who, with distrustful breath, forth issued from the sea upon the shore, turns to the water perilous and gazes, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's comparing himself to somebody who's just escaped, I
Oh,
guess, a
sure.
shipwreck, and he
Mhm.
looks back at the water.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
it's sort of the same idea. It's
Right.
a little more explicitly stated here.
Yes, indeed. Yes, really.
Can you remind me of what those lines were? It was Canto 1, line
22
22.
following.
Okay. Right. Okay.
All right. So also, I don't know. Duncan, do you want to read on? I think we've kind of summed that up here. We're ready now. What happens next?
Oh, you're all satisfied?
I think so.
Yeah, unless you have something to say.
Give me just a second.
Yep.
Okay, so it says to take the bath. So Virgil gives just general instructions. Don't go down. So Dante says, "Hey, what do we do now?" Virgil says, "Keep going up. Don't go down." Okay.
Yeah,
And then it was, you look up and the summit was so high it vanished. So it's beyond their sight.
yeah.
And the hillside was precipitous, very precipitous.
Yeah, it
And
seems to have to do with the shape of the mountain they're climbing. First, the sun um, is looking in one direction, and then it's looking in another.
Well, they're going up a steep path with narrow sides and probably turning corners. So
Yeah.
the sun is gonna, from their perspective, is gonna change position. So it says, "Spent with fatigue was I when I began. Oh, sweet Father, turn thee and behold how I remain alone, unless thou stay." Hey, Verge, don't go too fast, man. Leave me
But
behind. Verge.
interesting, use of imagery to give a sense of the terrain,
Yeah,
what it
Uh-huh.
was like where they were. Really pretty awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
I,
particularly for people who actually are familiar with the mountains that Dante refers to earlier, Sanlio, Noli, Bismantova.
Yeah, it just brings the mountain scene like it hits you.
would these would these
Wonderful.
would these mountains be like the Apennines, and that is that the mountain range in Italy?
I believe so. Yes, I believe that's the spine that goes down the boot. Cleveland John would know better than I.
That's my question then.
You
Uh, um, I don't know where these mountains are,
okay,
but
let me. I'll
they can
just
be pretty steep.
right.
Yeah, I'm substituting some Swiss mountains for these mountains.
Yeah.
So
I
the
go to
really
the
high ones.
I go to the Banff Mountain Film Festival every year,
Oh,
and
there you
they
go. Yeah.
they show climbers in those mountains as well as others. Yeah,
Yeah,
it brings
yeah.
it all back.
I'm familiar with those mountains.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with the mountains in Colorado, various places. Okay, anyway, 43, spent with fatigue was I when I began. Okay, anyway, Virgil says, "Come on, boy, don't give up now." And then Dante renews his effort, uses all of his energy, and finally they reach a resting point.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I
And they
guess I
look.
have. Oh, sorry, Dave.
Go ahead, John.
Well, no, I just had another, I guess, a thought of more of a question, I guess, about, I guess I'm wondering why, in a sense, Dante has put this thing in terms of, well, like almost like a metaphysical kind of thing at the beginning about the soul's faculties and making this kind of like a hard, really kind of a hard concept in there to get through, to talk about the passage of time and about losing time and so forth. He's not, he's got to be making a more he's got to be making a more important or significant or major point here about something that I'm not getting beyond simply like, well, do you ever notice how sometimes you'll get really focused on something and you won't notice time passing? I mean, he's got to be saying something more than just that, but maybe that's all there is. Is there?
Well, remember that he's using that to point out that there are not three souls. There is
Right,
one soul with three faculties.
right. But
And
why,
that's a pretty major point, actually.
but why does that figure into the narrative in the poem that is happening here? I mean, that he's presenting here. Why? It seems to be a major digression. I mean, he's making some sort of philosophical statement about the soul, the nature of human souls, or something like that. I mean, this
Well,
seems sort of out of place. I don't know.
Well, for what it's worth, I just take it as he is showing the harmony between physical realities and metaphysical realities.
Right.
All right. Well, okay. We don't have to stop here.
And I think he's doing that because he's going to be doing, he has done a lot of that already, and he's going to be doing a lot more of it in the future.
Okay. All right.
Minnesota,
Well,
John, I take your point. You know, I mean, for me, it
Yeah.
seems a digression too, but it's possible. Like, wait till you get into some of his cosmology later on,
Yeah. Well,
which is actually
yeah.
the Ptolemaic rather than the Copernican view of the universe, so it's wrong.
We've already run into some of that already, I think.
Right. And so, but I'm wondering,
Mind-bending concepts of what hell might look like conceptually, and now for purgatory too.
but I'm wondering if he's putting this in because he's trying to sort of expand the scope of his book. You know, you're getting some metaphysics, you're getting some cosmology,
Right.
and it puts this on a grander scale. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know.
No, I appreciate all those insights because I guess I have to wait and see. Maybe my mind will expand as to where he's opening up maybe a little bit of a crack, and he's opening the crack for me to inviting me to kind of explore this with him or something here.
Well, he's going to be doing a lot more of this.
Yes, he does, and I think
he has to train his readers, us,
Yeah.
to be able to read stuff like that and anticipate what he's trying to say.
right.
And so let's take 52. Thereupon ourselves we seated both of us, turned to the east from which we had ascended, for all men are delighted to look back. That's pretty straight ahead.
It is, yeah.
Okay. Now we have actually kind of scaled these tersima. When we started out, at least from my point of view, it was much more opaque to us.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're almost at the point, as John has expressed it so readily, we're at the point where it's like, well, yeah, okay, so why would he do this? So we understand it. Now we're wondering why he did it,
Yeah.
which is a whole different level, which implies that we have a deeper understanding of what these verses are saying, even though we're not sure why he said them,
Okay. Yep.
which is a whole different subject.
Right. Yes.
But anyway, so we are sitting in a comfortable spot too. We are right here with him, sitting on the resting bench.
Right. If we start at 55 next time, that probably is a good place to come in because he talks about being in the southern hemisphere and how the sun is hitting a different side of your face than it would in the north. And then I think he moves on from there. So do you want to start it at 55? Or do you want to go back up to 52? Here we sat down both facing
I
east.
think it might be good to start at 52 just to
I
realize
was-
that we did
accomplish
something.
Yeah, okay, no, I've got it marked there. And as I said, you were away, but it is so psychologically true that when we've made either physically or metaphorically a climb, it does give us pleasure to take pause and look back at the distance we've covered.
Yeah, go, wow,
Okay,
that's
well,
interesting.
yeah. Well,
Well, it is. But I mean, look at yourself. You learned Japanese. You didn't come out of the womb speaking Japanese, but you learned it. And it must at some point in your progression with the language, you look back and said, wow, look how far I've come in 3 years.
yeah.
Well, in my case, it's the ability to go into a bar, have a couple of beers, get into some light conversations with people, and then go, wow, I think they understood what I was saying.
Right.
And I understood what they were saying. That's pretty cool.
What must be even better, and I'll leave you on that note, is to go in as a European, a Caucasian, into a Japanese bar, sit there, and you know what they're saying, and they don't think that you know what they're saying. That must give you a sense of power.
Wow, I'm not that good.
Okay.
It's actually when they began scaling their language.
Okay.
down a little bit that I,
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
I've had this experience grading finals, and looking back, I've done 5 blue books. And then a few minutes later, I've done 7 blue books.
Yes. Yes.
Now you can gaze back over the
Yeah.
expanse that you've covered there. So
File.
it'll be well, I want to just say to everybody, I regret next week I'm unable to attend. I had to get a doctor's appointment and I could only get it this time. So I will not be here next week, unfortunately. So
We'll miss you, buddy.
okay.
I'll,
All righty,
I'll-
That's your point of view.
I'll check in. I'll watch this on YouTube and we'll be
Okay,
seeing
excellent.
3 weeks, 2 weeks.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.